And today we are asking a simple question. Well, all questions are simple until they are not. And that question is, would you want to work for you? I don't know what's the description of that feeling. I was like, the first answer was, I probably wouldn't work for myself.
Really?
To be honest, yes, because in my line of work, I have this, system. Then when I guide my, would I work for myself? I probably would not, because I'm still not that version that's supposed to live in my vision.
When I left my corporate job a couple of years ago, as soon as there was a mistake, I used to beat myself up. Like, oh, how can you be so stupid? Like, how can you be so incredibly dumb that you're doing that mistake? And always starting to get lower. Then it's when I sit down and I evaluate. It's like, okay, what actually went wrong? Like, let's be specific. Instead of saying I'm dumb, let's try to understand what actually went wrong, because I'm sure that not everything went wrong. I'm sure that a lot of things went right. So what actually went wrong, and what's within the things that went wrong, what's in my power? What can I control? And I try to...
There is something good in that. I believe in that. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, 100%. I always thought that, not always, but lately in the last few years since I started my business, I realized that there's no failure. Like, failure only exists when you fall and you don't get back up. That's a failure. But if you learn something from that, that's not a failure. That's just a learning opportunity. That's it. Something went wrong, yes, but you got something good out of it. And next time you're going to get it better.
Absolutely.
It's always work in progress. Like they say that success is 999 mistakes and one thing that went right.
Yeah.
And
high standards, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if I cannot then make a decision because I don't think this plan or this contract is perfect, then what I'm doing, I probably then in a paralysis state.
Yeah. Paralysis by analysis, they say, right?
Whatever. Yeah, that's that. But it's actually very good expression.
But yeah, I think it's being a perfectionist can be, I'm not saying can be a good thing, but it can help to get high standards. The problem is when you're trying to get, instead of 10 out of 10, you try to get a 12 out of 10. And perfectionism also is a great excuse to procrastinate. Because that's our brain saying, oh, because this is not perfect, we're not going to do it. And sometimes something done is better than something perfect. And
exactly.
And I learned that the hard way, really, like trying to do things, up to the...
What is that? That term self-leadership. How would you explain that self-leadership? I think that's very important to all of us, not even in work, in family setting as well.
It starts with self-management, really. Self-awareness. Self-management comes after. But first you need to be very aware of who you are, what you do, what are your limits. And after knowing all that, that's when you can start managing yourself, and knowing, how do I react in this situation? And what's the team's reaction to my reaction?
If you became your own employee tomorrow morning, and that's me and you, if you become your own employee tomorrow morning, what one thing would you ask your boss to change? So my answer would be, I think I would need to have a clearer boundaries.
Yeah.
Like separate, and it's not easy for me. And I always say, oh, life and business are, like lines are blurry. And I create that story in my head. And I think I would ask for clearer boundaries, because I cannot work 24/7. The good leadership begins the moment we start leading ourselves with the same respect, with the same patience and encouragement that we would offer that to our future team. Yeah. So I think this is very important to see whether definitely I would want to work for myself. And if not, like I sort of answered, so I am going to reflect even more, because working for myself should be a priority, and it should be
Yeah.
fun. And if it's not, then obviously nobody will want to work for me. What is your final thought? And we will close. Pilar, thank you very much for today anyway, but give us one final sentence.
One final sentence. Manage yourself before you manage anyone else.